Hi guys, welcome back to the Kate Reimer
and Rylie Outfree
show. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about what's missing. Starting us off strong on the post-classical era, which was 1200 to 1450, we're going to be talking about the signing of the Magna Carta. This took place on June 1215. The action was, it was the first document to be put into writing, the principle that the king and his government was not above the law. It sought to prevent the king from exploiting his power and placed limits of royalty authority by establishing law as a power in itself.
Now, do you agree with that law?
I think I do agree with the law because I think it is good, for the king not to just be able to take his own actions and that the government was not above the law. I feel like that's a good idea, especially for this time period. I feel like it was definitely needed.
Okay.
This was taking place in a field at Runnymede, maybe. One of the main, there was many people involved, but what stood out to me the most was the person of significance was King John. King John is one of the more controversial monarchs of the medieval England and is most associated with the signing of the Magna Carta, so that's why he is so important in this act. Shimming on down to the next slide, we're going to talk about why the Magna Carta was so important. The Magna Carta laid a great foundation for lasting legal concepts like the ban on cruel and unusual punishments, trial by a jury of one's peers, and the idea that justice should not be sold or unnecessarily delayed. So going back to Riley's question, I do think it was very important because there needed to be these legal concepts like the ban of cruel and unusual punishments, because without them, our world would have been a show in itself. So we're gonna move down to the next slide, and I just want all of you to look at the screen and just take in. This was a picture of the signing of the Magna Carta, so everyone just take it in for a few seconds, if you could. Moving on down, I'm gonna move it over to my host, Rylie Outfree.
Okay, howdy everyone. So this is the pre-modern era, which is the time period 1450 to 1750, and the event that I chose was the Golden Age of Piracy. So this time period was the 1650s to the 1730s, and the action was that most pirates targeted ships, and some also launched attacks on coastal towns. We often think of pirates as swashbuckling and daring or evil, but most of them were ordinary people who had been forced to turn to criminal activity to make ends meet. So, the places that this took place were the Caribbean, the United Kingdom, the Indian Ocean, North America, West Africa, Bermuda, and the Red Sea. There are multiple locations because the pirates never stayed in one place. So, some people of significance are Henry Jennings, Charles Vane, Samuel Bellamy, Benjamin Hornigold, and Edward England.
Wait, so is this like the Pirates of Caribbean or like the pirates that were in Peter Pan?
Neither, actually.
Oh.
So, the pirates have existed since ancient times. They threatened the trading routes of ancient Greece and seized cargoes of grain and olive oil from Roman ships. The 1494 Treaty of Torda. Can you pronounce that for me?
I'm gonna guess with Tordesillas, if you may.
Meant that the lands discovered by Christopher Columbus were divided between Spain and Portugal. While this treaty meant that Spain and Portugal had agreed on the divide, the English didn't think that the Pope had the right to seize the land that they wanted. They decided to do something about it. Under Queen Elizabeth I, Britain's naval powers were growing. She sanctioned civilian sailors to attack Spanish ships, steal cargo, and bring it back. While this may have appeared to piracy to the outside world, to the British it made you a hero. And that's a pirate ship. You look at it.
Wait, so why was it important?
Oh, I think it's important because, I feel like the idea of pirates is really glamorized and glorified in like plays and musicals and books, and I just think that this kind of gives you insight on the things that they actually did in their time period of the Golden Age.
And was this the Christopher Columbus that sailed the ocean blue in 1492?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so So for the modern era, I chose the Newsies strike, and this was the time period of July and August of 1899. The action was the strike of the newsboys against Joseph Pulitzer and other publishers who tried to take more than their fair share of the young workers' earnings. So this took place in New York City, and the person of significance was Joseph Pulitzer.
Wait. Did our school just perform the Newsies?
Yes.
Oh,
I think
were you in it?
I wasn't. Yeah.
Can you explain what that was? Was it the same? Was it the same concept? Was it twisted?
It
a little?
was. It was not really that much twisted, other than the fact that, Joseph Pulitzer had a lot of kids, and they didn't show any of them except for one. So I think that's one thing that's different.
That's weird.
Yeah,
for sure.
So the strike paved the way for improvement by bringing this issue to light. They could try and sell as many newspapers as they could to make money for food and clothes, but also get that money back if they went unsold. Newsies were a powerful group that brought the issue of child labor to light by showing the world that young workers could show the public their unification. Newsies dealt with harassment and mugging because they were viewed with pity. The Newsies did make an impactful change and allowed newsies across the city to get reimbursed and showed city officials that child labor matters. Newsies stood united and made a change for people to care more about child labor reform. And those are the newsboys. You can look at them. All right. Bringing it back to Kate.
All right. So, as I come back, I do actually have one last question for Rylie. How old were these newsboys? Were they, younger or were they teens?
Under 18.
Oh,
all
okay.
of them.
I don't think I really
labor.
understood that, because in the movie they're kind of older, so I was kind of thinking, 20s, but...
No.
Thank you.
Maybe some of them, but a very few. They were all, 11, 13, 15, 16. The main character in Newsies, Jack Kelly, was only 17.
Wow.
Like us.
Wow.
Sophomores are 16... 17, 15. Imagine you being a newsboy in New York City.
Wow, that's
crazy. You can't.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
All right. We're going to move back down to the contemporary era, which was 1900 to the present. My bad, guys. The main event was the women's suffrage movement, which was the right to vote. The right to vote was passed by Congress on June 4th, 1919, and ratified on August 18th, 1920. The main action was the campaign to establish women's right to vote in the states was conducted simultaneously with the campaign for an amendment to the United States Constitution that would establish that rights rightfully in all states. The place where this took place was Seneca Falls, New York. So that's where the first women's right convention was held. Again, Seneca Falls, New York. Put that on the map. The main person of significance was Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Yeah.
She was a young mother from upstate New York, like the movies. And also the Quaker abolitionist Lucretia Mott. About 300 people, most of whom were women, of course, attended the Seneca Falls Convention to outline a direction for the women's right movement. So as we move on down, we're going to talk about why the women's right movement was so important. The 19th Amendment helped millions of women move closer to equality in all aspects of American life. Women advocated for job opportunities, fair wages, and education. And just talking again, women were half of the population of the United States and are, so half of the country was being left out of what the Constitution is made for and stands for. Only half of the American had these rights.
Can you imagine not being able to vote? That's so awful.
It would be terrible. I mean, my heart goes out for all these women that had to fight so hard for these rights, and I hope that we can continue to fight to these days to keep our rights.
I can't imagine not being able to share my opinion.
I know.
I think it would be really bad.
Me as well. I mean, I love sharing my opinion.
Me as well.
And this next slide is just a picture of these women fighting for their rights. New York City women have no vote at all is what the sign says. So that's very important. But, I mean, just coming from me and Rylie here, we think, again, going back to the 19 to 2020 time period, the most...
Contemporary era.
Contemporary. The most significant was for sure Mr. Reisner's class this year.
Oh,
I mean, I mean, it really had an impact on our lives. I'm so happy that, I mean,
all that work.
I'm so happy you were able to teach us. So
Right.
that is, again, just another one of the most important things. The what is missing, just Mr. Reisner's class. It really just held us over. But then our last slides here, just the works cited for, big guy Mr. Reisner, so he can go ahead and look at these, make sure we were all accurate. But I think that's it, gang.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for coming to our talk show. See you all next week. Bye!
Bye!